Good morning and welcome to My Left Ear with my recovering co-host, Petey Freeman, who's wearing his little donut. And I'm just gonna, so you can look at him. He's pretty mellow this morning, but I think he needs a little pain medicine. And when I get done here, I'm gonna give him a couple of drops of pain medicine. So this is a liberal YouTube channel. We worked all summer trying to bring attention to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and we got surprised. Okay, so today is Wednesday, December 30th. This is video 243, and welcome. So I do have runes today. This is more of a normal show and less about Pete, although he's appearing here. Aren't you, sweetie? I wanted to share something before I go into the runes, because this show today is like I'm going through some runes questions with you. But I wanted to quote something from the New York Times about the election. So this is from the New York Times. After nearly 2 months, now this is a word I haven't heard of before, tendentious analysis gave way to a simple truth. Trump won because his opponent was a woman. This is from the New York Times. I'm not really surprised. I'm just appalled. But at the end of this, I have some interesting material to share with you through this brilliant guy, David K. Johnston. And we'll get to that at the end. And it's more about the election. He came to the some of these TV shows with evidence and facts and numbers, and pretty astounding. So I thought, since I've been away from doing my usual My Left Ear, by the way, it's cold today in California, and it is 10:15 a.m. So I'm just going to go right into the runes. And I had about 6, but I'm going to share 4, and I'll do some more because it can be tedious to do that many runes for you and for me. So here's the rune. How is Biden's health? How is Biden's health? Well, as you know, this happens from time to time. If you watch me, I will sometimes get 2 runes in a row. These little fingers cannot, it's like Braille, and I can't read what I'm picking. I can't feel what it is that I'm picking. I just feel it, and I choose the rune. So I got the rune of disruption twice in a row. And let me just share some of the things about disruption. Change. Change, freedom, invention, but change. Okay, so we know change is really in the offing for Joe Biden. The disruption is about breaking free. He's going to try and lick himself, but he can't reach that wound. I've been watching him. So we'll just let him do what he needs to do. Disruption is about breaking free from constricting identification. So he's going to be an ex-president soon, just about 20 days. It is the Great Awakener disruption, and just realize that we got it twice in a row. And it may take various forms, and it could be so powerful as to rip away the fabric of what we previously knew. And when it appears, it indicates disruption on many levels. And although there is no reversed, it always kind of acts in reversal. So it may act by ripping away one's current understanding of one's reality. Health, illness could do that, of course. It may act by awakening one from a deep slumber, gradually bringing one to one's senses. I don't think that applies to Joe Biden. And during this time, one's relationship and partnerships may be challenged. Now, I put a note in here because my left ear was talking to me during this, and my left ear said, there's nothing wrong with Jill. So we're not putting Jill into this component like, oh my God, is something going to happen to Jill? Nope, my left ear is not feeling that at all, and I just wanted to mention that. But during this time, plans may go awry. Money supplies may become empty. That's not going to happen. The only power one can hope to utilize at this time is one's own inner self. Now, while I was doing this, my left ear came in and said, Joe Biden may have a procedure of some kind in 2025. It is, this rune is about caution about new starts. Like he shouldn't go into something immediately. The man needs a break. He needs a break to relax, reflect, absorb. I don't know how you absorb everything that's happened, but so limitations and delays are part of this, but they're not completely negative. It's important to recognize that one does have limitations. And the advice is ease back, just ease back. And then attempting to fight against fate will likely lead to more disruption. Now, I did then the next rune, I picked the rune of flow, but in the reversed position. So it does say, flow says, this is a counsel against overreach and excessive striving. It really means he needs to kick back. He needs to chill. And it's a caution against Joe trying to exceed his own strength or operate beyond the power that he has funded to date. He's a very measured person who is not impulsive. I want to say that because I'm not sure about the failure to draw upon his wisdom. But the intuitive side of his nature may be languishing right now, leaving him out of balance. You know, what he's observing and what, Trump says he's planning is leaving Biden out of balance, because imagine building something magnificent, like let's just take the economy, which is the envy of the world, and ruin it. And I can't fathom how that must make Joe Biden feel, as well as Kamala, of course. So it says, go within and honor the receptive side of your warrior nature. My left ear said this retirement will be difficult for him. He doesn't feel his work is done. He needs purpose. And I'm going to go back and just share with you that my left ear feels that he may need a procedure, but that's all it will be. All right. So I'm just sharing that with you. And I had something channel through me, a question. So I said, well, this is an interesting question. I'm going to go with it. So I asked the runes, do Biden and Harris have intel information that, of course, we don't have? We wouldn't know. And I got the rune of stand still, which is very icy. It's just like one line, like a pole that's standing alone. It's very interesting. So my left ear said that they are kind of bootstrapped and may not be able to do anything with information that they have, intel that they have. So standstill is the property of ice, and it recommends stand still. For Joe and Kamala, the winter of their spiritual life is upon them. They're not in danger, but it is upon them. They may be entangled in a situation to whose implications they are, in effect, blind. Not denial, but even there's stuff that even they don't know yet, but they know, they have intel. They may feel powerless to do anything except submit, surrender, and even sacrifice. But it does say, be patient, guys, for this is the period of gestation before rebirth. And we like the idea of rebirth. And my voice just said in 2025. Now, in regard to this intel, it's telling them that positive accomplishment is unlikely right now. That's where my word bootstrapped came from. There is a freeze on useful activity, and their plans are on hold. And I'm saying right now, you know, I'm not saying forever. They really kind of need to sit with this and submit and honor a time of waiting. The truth is going to come out, not maybe when we want it to, but this rune says there's no reason for anxiety. Simply submit and be still. This is said directly to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But it does tell us to prepare, be ready for when the ice melts. And it isn't interesting that we're in winter and then the ice is going to melt. Submit and be still, guys. What has been full, which is this presidency, must empty. And they just need to wait for the signs of spring. So there may be some very interesting information that comes out in the spring, and we do have to be patient. This is what the standstill is instructing us. And then the next rune I pulled was the rune of separation in the reversed position. And it tells us and Kamala and Joe and Kamala, not to be bound by old conditioning or old authority, maybe even old rules that just came to me. Consider not only what will benefit you, but will benefit others according to the light that they possess. And of course, they're not people who think about what's going to benefit them. They're very unselfish in their leadership. They have been. Now, through negligence or refusal to see clearly, it may cause pain and damage to themselves. So it's a cautionary tale. They need to have adaptability to cultivate, and they actually need the universe to act, okay? Then there's a quote that comes with this: we do without doing, and everything gets done. All right, so my last rune on this with intel is the rune of strength, and it has to do with the wild ox. A wild ox was an animal known for its massive strength when put to good use. So that's very inspirational. It indicates that one can count on sufficient strength to carry out all that is proposed. However, they must be responsible and use the power intelligently, and that's how they're built. That's what they do. There's a waiting here, but there's an indication, you know, and I think a lot of people, you know, what I wanted to say at the beginning of this that I sort of didn't write down, so I forgot, is that when I'm talking about, and it's a little bit like in my absence and being so involved with Pete, that you've heard some of these things perhaps from other readers that you watch. Now maybe you'll hear it in a different way from me. And so this strength reversed is suggesting that something may need to be sacrificed in order for a moving forward. But we can move forward. They can move forward even if they're not in these positions, in a state far better than what we can imagine right now. So that's good news. And it means that they are witness to or part of the path that allows another to reach their goals. Kind of want to gag on that. okay? But the sacrifice talks of diligence and hard work. Let go of this energy and wait for the universe to show you the way. Because whatever Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and especially Kamala does, they're not done. You know what I mean? They're not done working for you and I and for the right things to happen. The rune asks, is it time for you to leave the safety of your old ways and embark on a new and better future? And that indicates to me that they're going to make a difference. Even not in office, they're going to make a difference. And we don't know, and I have not read on this yet because it's premature, whether Kamala may come back and run again. We'll look at that in due time. But here's something that I highlighted about this strength. It transcends physical application of energy into the spiritual plane. So that's very comforting to me, because this really all is, as ugly as it can be, is like a spiritual experience. And as the runes say, adversity can be a great instructor. The operative word here is choice. I think that's interesting. Choice. And it encourages them to make the wise choice. It may not be the most comfortable, okay? And they know what the wisdom is. They know what the why, because they're wise people. So for a time, it blew up on me. Joe and Kamala, they may have to sacrifice and wait before they can properly apply measures to bring power back. I know this all sounds a little vague, but imagine what they're up against. You know, when I asked the question about this intel and what to do with it. And I believe it's going to emerge. It may not emerge in 2 months, it may be 3 months, and it may be the spring, okay? But it does talk of diligence and hard work, that they may have to embrace some darkness. And it's going to be painful to watch this Trump administration embark on some very awful and devious plans. But I have something to say about that a little bit later. They may not get as far as they think they're going to get. Well, I went on to Hakeem Jeffries, a favorite of mine and probably of yours. And I said, will Hakeem Jeffries become House Speaker in 4 months? I decided to make it very specific. So I got the rune of protection reversed. And it says, look carefully at the associations you form at this time. If you find yourself involved with people who are using you, they're not really using him, but coming up against him, tricking him, trying to manipulate him, be conscious of that and take responsibility, Maga. Do not be too invested whether your enterprise prospers or suffers. Now, here's what's interesting, what it's saying to Hakeem. You may not win, but you will never lose. So, and we're talking about 4 months, okay? So I chose to make that specific time marker. So then we got joy reversed, but it has something positive to say. It tells us, in regard to Hakeem, things are slow coming to fruition. The symbolic process of birth is long and arduous, during which fears can arise for the child within. And I think that's all of us. You know, the child within is activated right now, fearful right now. It does tell us about Hakeem might find a very difficult passage at hand, and boy, he's up to it, if anybody is, but it's brief. Be brief. So it says, be deliberate in your choices, Hakeem. Seek tranquility, clarity, patience, sincerity, and emptiness for a time. For a time. And he is all that. He's a very deep individual, aside from being quite brilliant in his position. So everything is a test, Hakeem, and a learning opportunity. Persevere, sir, and practice mindfulness, which I believe he does already, and things always autocorrect. That's a quote. Things always autocorrect. All right. So my left ear thinks before this year is out, he will be the speaker. And it could be before 4 months, but I just wanted to put a frame on it. Now, the next question is very direct, but it was on my mind, and it's probably on your mind, and probably other people are talking about this. Will Trump die or become critically ill in 2025? So I got the rune of Gateway, which is very interesting. And Gateway talks about, it represents moving from one space into another space. Interesting. Gateway, like the gate, I'm thinking the gateway to heaven. It's not written here, but that's what's kind of coming up. So without the gateway to show us that we are transferring from one space to another, we may not realize the transfer has occurred. And the rune speaks of standing at the gateway, kind of like a new frontier or a passage, ready to take the step. It even represents, this is interesting, the frontier between heaven and the mundane. Deep transformational forces are at work regarding the power of passage from one form of being into another. That feels so specific to me. Then I got separation. Now is a time of separating old paths. It's like a peeling away, making him ready to step through that gateway. Old skins must be shed, outmoded, and relationships discarded. It's a rune of radical severance. And it says, be willing to give up some aspect of your behavior because new experiences are coming to you, Donald Trump. The action here is submission. We don't think he's capable of submission, but that is what it's telling us. Real property is associated here, as it is a rune of acquisition and benefits. But this is a lot about what he must give up. So if he doesn't expire, he could have an attack of something that causes him to give up, where he just can't function anymore. And it does say you may be asked to abandon some aspect of yourself, your behavior, or your inheritance even. And so my left ear wrote, abandon your life? Are you going to abandon your life? Are they just going to pluck you up and out? And then I got the unknowable rune, blank. There's nothing there. So blank is the end and blank is the beginning. So let's say he does enter into the hospital for massive treatment, surgery, or he actually does expire. There's the end and there's the beginning, because the beginning brings in new. Unfortunately, it would bring in J.D. Vance. So it relates to his fate, I'm sorry. And it does, and I'm just reading here, it does portend a symbolic death, but it could be a real death. I'm telling you, it could. To me, he's not looking well. He looks like he's fading away, and he's aging like in front of us. So it says if this appears in his spread, the unknowable is at work, even though we can't see it. So I'm just seeing if there's anything else. And there is no reverse to this. It is the unknown. I'm going to say that I really, and I think other readers have suggested this. I'm very careful not to watch too much because I don't want to be influenced, but enough to realize these things have been talked about. And I'm coming in individually, not following anybody's cue, just staying with my own left ear. It is the power of the unknown. But don't forget this. I feel pretty strong about it. Now I'm going to come to this man named David K. Johnston. And if you've watched any of MSNBC, he's interviewed a lot. He's really smart. And he has known Donald Trump since 1988, and he knows him well. And here's something astounding. He actually wrote somewhere around 1988 or shortly after that he just made this prediction that Trump could very well be president a long time ago, when it probably sounded bizarre. At some point, and I don't know what the issue was, David K. Johnston sued Donald Trump and he won. So you can imagine how angry Donald is when someone wins against him. And he wrote many books, or he's written many books, David K. But one of the books that you might have heard of is The Making of Donald Trump. And you know what? It is by someone who probably has known him longer than most people, except for maybe Reverend, the Rev. So this is about the election. This is what I wanted to share with you. These are the facts I wanted to share with you because I heard David K. yesterday or the day before, and I grabbed paper and I wrote this down. He's so correct. And you know what? I'm going to share with you that I have been talking for a very long time about the lack of education in this country. And this is one of the reasons that Trump won. It's hard to imagine that there's such a lack in America, but this has been and there's a guy who does satire for the New Yorker, Andy Borowitz. He's really funny, and he has said over and over, the problem is education. I'm on board for that. So here's a fact regarding the election. Trump won by a 1.5% margin. That is really small. No mandate. And 13 million people did not vote. And I just have to add, for shame. Why didn't we do a better job getting people to the voting booths? I don't know. Now, further, 1/2 of all adults read at a 5th grade level. Let that sink in. It's horrible. And then 22% of adults read at a 3rd grade level. And this makes these people easily manipulated, easily influenced. They have no critical thinking. And that's the crux of it. This is all from David K. Johnston. I may be throwing in an observation here and there, but this is what got my attention and got me running for a pad of paper. And then we're going to go back to the beginning of my show today and say, then there's the issue of Kamala being a woman and a woman of color. So I think that kind of sums it up. We're moving on now. 2025, I know I've talked to you about this before, but I'm just going to wrap it up here. The number 9 year is 2 days away. It's kind of like going back to claim your future. It's the end of an era. That this coming year, the number 9, we're going to be wrapping up some things, finalizing some things, and there's going to be change as we embark on this 9. A lot of things come to an end in the number 9, and that I'm also applying to Trump's health and whether he remains upright. So T.S. Eliot said, what we call the beginning is often the end. And to make an end is to make a beginning. So the end is where we start. Isn't that interesting? I love that quote. So appropriate. So just a few more things about the number 9 year. Brings you to the end of a complete 9-year cycle of your life, of course. It is a year to complete unfinished business, and this would be for all of us. Let's just pause and see what Pete's going to do. Pete, don't leave. Can we turn around? Come on, boy. I think he needs a little pain medicine, which I'm going to issue the minute. Oh, he's going to give you his butt. You see all that? That was shaved. Poor guy. But he's getting better. All right, so I'm going to go back here. Oh, the screen blew up on me again. It does that. Drives me nuts. Okay, here we go. Unfinished business, reach conclusions, and tie up loose ends. These actions will help you step into the 9 without the pressure of unresolved matters of the past pulling you back. And as one door closes, another opens. But there's a problem if you refuse to accept that certain doors really have closed. You will be unable to recognize the new possibilities. So that kind of puts all of us on alert. Recognize. Doesn't matter whether you like it or not. Change happens whether we like it or not. You have to close the door to recognize the new possibilities. And as I've told you before, I've been through a lot of number 9 years, and I find it astounding and kind of predictable. It's a powerful year. Like, I lost a job and I knew 3 weeks ahead of time and cleaned out my office. I told you that. It's very strange, but it's interesting, and it's going to open up. Then we'll go into a number 1. So I feel like there's going to be some kind of a weird cleansing in that. Well, this I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, but we're going to go into quotes now. Here's the first quote. First of all, there is this thing called the DSM, and it is like a little Bible for psychotherapists and psychiatrists to pull together how to diagnose clients. And there's a section of the book that talks about cluster B personality disorders. And that means there's more than one, and they kind of operate together a lot of the time. And that's why they go cluster B. But if you're diagnosed with cluster B, you're in trouble. You're not mentally healthy. So I needed to explain that before I read this quote. It wouldn't be a bridge too far to say America is being run by a slew of cluster B personality disorders operating within one individual. And those sadistic traits have been evident since his childhood. And that's about Trump. But I do want you to know that I'm just going to estimate that there's plenty of people in the House and the Senate that have cluster B personality disorders. I know it. That was my quote, by the way. I channeled it because I thought, this guy, Trump, has been disturbed since he's a kid. He's demonstrated a lot of terrible social habits, actions, and I realized that we're being attacked and ruled by someone who's had these personality disorders since childhood, and has been able to con. But he's just a cluster of personality disorders. And it's frightening. It's frightening. Now, the next quote is by Martha Stewart. And she said two things. When you're finished changing, then you're finished. She follows it up with, when you're through changing, you're just through. So you're not finished. Just say you're in the process. Because if you say you're finished, then you're finished. I thought that was pretty clever of Martha Stewart. I don't know if I ever told you, but I did some stand-in work on the show with her and Snoop. And it was very intimate. There were them, and there were like 3 stand-ins. I was one of them. We spent the day, and I liked her. And that day, she just came off like she does on TV. It was Martha. And I wasn't in awe. I just felt really comfortable. She included people. She made eye contact. I think I chatted with her for a minute. And I sat next to Snoop all day, and he did not smell like cannabis. And he's a nice man. So that was fun. Here's the good evidence that I came up with. Right now, the GOP are literally eating each other alive. They're cannibalizing. And this makes for less productivity. And the less productivity, they are weakened in terms of getting things done. That is good for us. That is good for the Democrats. This infighting, this cannibalizing, these factions are going to benefit the Democrats. Okay? And all of this is before the inauguration. So it's kind of fascinating. And, you know, the second part of the good evidence is Petey's going to be okay. Petey's going to be okay. He had a really close call with death. You know, there were 3 visits to the ER, and it was very scary, very scary. But I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he got through it. My campaign is, I keep getting donations. Just the surgery was over $4,000. And then there were all the ER visits, meds, catheter, anesthesia, injections, for all kinds of things. And it just, like I told you, astronomical charges. I have to this afternoon sit down, paper and pen, and really figure out how much I've spent and how much I'm still in debt. And I'm still in debt a lot, even with the wonderful donations. So I don't have figures for you, but it's big. I think right now I'm looking at about $9,000, but I'm hoping to bring in more donations. And so this is going to continue, even though our good political friend, Petey Freeman, is coming back. I was so excited that he was willing to. Now, I just put on the donut again last night, and I'm sorry, babe. I put it on because I wanted to literally watch him lick, and he really didn't get near the actual wound, which is way back here underneath his tail. I took a picture of it last night, but you don't want to see it. I sent it to the doctor because it looks clean. It looks like it's healing, but it's nasty. So the fundraising will continue, and I just wanted to make that clear. Oh, Petey's okay, and it's over. No, it's not over. I've got to try to reduce this $9,000. And I thank you. You guys started it. My YouTube, My Left Ear people, I was the first, you were the first people that I asked. And my God, you really stepped up. And I know some of you have said, I'm going to get to you in January. I can't donate right now. So there's more coming. And I have a whole list of emails that I'm sending out, very personal, with personal notes to people. And I have a really great story about the donations that I'm going to share on Patreon. Because I've been thinking about, what can I share on Patreon right now? So I came up with it. And this is where I'm going to go over to Patreon either later or tomorrow and share this really neat story. So there you go. I tried to bring back what I was doing. And again, I feel like apologizing for being absent or being a one-note pony. I think about 4 or 5 people have like ended their subscription, which is so strange to me because you could just leave that subscription there and wait for me to come back. But it's almost, I almost get this feeling, and I could be wrong, that people were like annoyed, like I wasn't doing my job. And so they unsubscribed. You don't have to. Maybe they unsubscribed because they were annoyed with me. Oh my God, is she going to get off this thing about the cat? Well, no, I'm not. But now I'm coming back to, you know, what I originally started this for. So I just wanted to say that. And I'll talk to you soon. Happy New Year. It's the number 9. Interesting things are going to happen. And I think we'll get through it. I think we'll get through it. So make peace. Make good memories, and hold the highest thoughts. It's all spiritual. It's all happening for a reason. Okay, guys, have a good week. Bye-bye.